Let's see. And we are live. All right. We are live on the webinar. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jelani Hashim Bracy. I'm the CEO of Black to Life. We got Demetrius Dotson and my girl Saba Kwan Barrow. Saba the Goddess, otherwise known as, better known as Saba the Goddess, yeah. And this is the B2L Kickback. Been a minute since we've been on, and now we're back. These are conversations we have to enrich and inform the Black community. And tonight we have a very special guest. We have Queen Geneva Reed-Veal, and she is the mother of our fallen sister, Sandra Bland. And we want her here, in this safe space to just talk about the incident and the events surrounding her daughter's death and just her life in general. Yeah. So right now, I want to, just turn it over to Ms. Reed, and just to ask you, just introduce yourself to the people, Ms. Reed, and let them know who you are and what you're doing right now.
Absolutely. Of course, I am Geneva Reed-Veal, and I am the mother of Sandra Bland. And prior to Sandra's death, I was in ministry, was a real estate sales person, owned my own real estate company. And so I always tell people, before Sandy passed, I was really somebody. I wasn't just Sandy's mom, because people always say, "Oh, that's Sandra Bland's mom," and I'm like, I did have an identity, but it's in ministry now. I work with the least of them, the folks that the people call the throwaways. And we try to make sure that we're dealing with anybody with any type of dysfunction, homelessness, prostitution, addicts, all of that. We try to provide services for the ones that are literally just forgotten about. That ministry came about. It was already in effect prior to Sandy, but then the way that she was treated, it caused me really to be even more compassionate for people and want to be able to help as many people as I could. So the foundation was established after that. That's the ministry foundation. But the Sandra Bland Racial Justice Center will be launched roughly in a few weeks. You guys will hear all about it. So right now, I'm working with the homeless, the addicted, still doing a little bit of real estate, and that keeps me busy in between speaking engagements as well now.
Okay, cool. So thank you for that. And so why don't we just get into, the crux of the matter? Sound like you're doing a lot of good things and everything. But let's just get into talking about Sandra. Let's talk about Sandra Bland, her life, and what did you see, and who do you know Sandra to be? That we saw Sandy Speaks, we've seen documentaries, YouTube videos or whatever, but you are somebody that knows her through and through. So give us your take on your daughter's life and the events surrounding her death as well. But let's celebrate her life first, and then we can
Absolutely. Well, I used to always say that before Sandy passed, only our little community knew her. And I said, man, now that she's gone, the whole world and beyond knows her, right? Sandy was always the one who was for the underdog. I don't care what was going on. If somebody was getting done wrong, Sandy's going to go and get her petition. She's going to go and come up behind the person and say, what's going on? And she would always make sure that she was speaking out for that individual. Bold, very non-apologetic. Sandy was just like, if you don't want to know, don't ask me, because I'm going to tell you. And she would give you her commentary and then say, but I still love you though. And that's what a lot of people liked about her boldness and her ability to just tell the truth and not even think about it, not even blink a second thought about it. She went away to school, and prior to that, she started really looking into the things that were happening with police brutality, and it really began to bother her. And so she began to do research, and she started looking at how to change the system and how to change the criminal justice system. And she had all these binders of information. And she sat down with the youth minister and she told him, listen, man, I think I know what my mission is. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. So when she headed out of here, she was going back to Prairie View, which is where she graduated from in 2000. She was going back there to be a student ambassador. Okay. She was trying to make sure that students knew they had a voice and how to use it. So that's what she was going back to do, to work with the kids. And when I tell you it was so important to her to be back in the state, and I say to people all the time, she chose Texas. She chose Texas. And for them to for it to end for her like that in that state, it was a sore spot for the family. But that's why we always are advocating now to say her name, to continue to work with the families that are going through the same thing that she did. Of course, when she went down, she was going down there for the interview at Prairie View. That's what she was going down there for. The girl packed up her clothes, packed up the car, and left going to the interview, not even knowing if she got it or not. Okay. So she drives down by herself. She gets the interview, gets the job, and literally she said, hey, look, she called me. We talked about it. We celebrated it. She was supposed to be on her way to Walmart from the school. She got pulled over. And of course, this officer, I don't know if he was having a bad day. I don't know if he had been having a bad month. I don't know. But it quickly escalated where it should not have. And people always say, well, what if she just would have shut up? No, not what if she just would have shut up. What if Rosa would have just shut up? What if Martin Luther would have just shut up? What if Fannie Lou Hamer would have just shut up? I don't think that it would have been a different outcome even if she had been quiet. There are many stops that occur where everybody doesn't always get home. It's just you don't hear about the stories. And so in her instance, with the 52-minute video that they keep showing, she was, if you notice, she was very calm at first. And then she began to get upset after the man asked her what was the problem. He had an issue with her talking back in the manner that she was. And I will say to you, anytime as a female, and you know this, Saba, anytime as a female, if you speak a certain way, if you look a certain way, if your eye goes a certain way, it's you're the bad mad black woman. And she had every right to be, yeah, she had every right to be agitated. All she told the man was, well, yeah, now I am irritated because you stopped me. For the way that escalated, you could see that that man was looking for a target that day. That's just how I feel about it. He was definitely looking for a target because he didn't even have anything to file to press charges with her with. He called his boss and said, I don't know what I'm going to charge her with yet. You can hear that in the background of the video.
Yeah, I actually saw when I was watching the documentary that that's one of the things the officer was, well, that was the only thing he got indicted for was perjury.
Yes.
Because he lied about why he even arrested Sandra.
Right.
And what and expound on that, like what was the reason that they said, and that was eventually said that was to be a lie.
Well, initially, when they pulled her over, you can even see it on the tape when the man said, I stopped you for failure to signal. He said that in the tape. And then when she was arrested, you're going to arrest her for what? She asked you 14 times. For what? What am I being arrested for? Ultimately, what they wrote a ticket for was a expired license, which was bogus because she had a valid Illinois license. They wrote another bogus ticket for failure to signal. And then there was one more ticket that was out there that never surfaced to the family. Someone had it posted up on Facebook later on. The charge that she literally was told in face was failure to signal. What ended up being put on the ticket was a suspended Illinois and a suspended Texas license. And that was incorrect because when she got to Illinois and she got her Illinois license, that zeroes out the Texas license. If she had had an invalid license in the first place, that's the first thing the man would have said.
True that.
I want to ask a question because Miss Geneva, you were talking about her interaction with the police and how she did get a little agitated as any person would.
Yes.
if they feel like they're being wrongfully apprehended in some way, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to this, oh, um, you are being the angry Black woman because, you're expressing yourself. Um, I want to know, there's a lot of, I guess, talk about how we are supposed to, or we have to have the talk with our children about how to interact with police officers. Is this anything that you had ever discussed with Sandra when she was a child? Like, if you get pulled over by the police, you're supposed to have this type of etiquette, because this has been going on for, a very long time. And so I've had these conversations, maybe with my parents, and
Yes.
I've heard people having these conversations, of course, with Black males,
Yes.
having those conversations on those interactions. Did you ever
Yes.
talk to her about anything like that?
Absolutely. And what everybody needs to understand, when your child, male or female, begins to drive, you
Mm-hmm.
always say to them, now listen,
Mm-hmm.
have your stuff in order. Make sure you're not speeding. You try to tell them what not to do, because
Mm-hmm.
we all know that we get stopped more often than not. And so,
Right.
yes, I had that conversation with all of them because I had 5 girls and we were
Mm-hmm.
in the suburbs. So, yes, you have the conversation with them, but you don't drill it into them so much so that they're scared.
Right.
Sometimes people, when they pass an officer, they just freeze up and they get totally
Right.
scared for no reason. We had
Mm-hmm.
that conversation. But I have to tell you this, Saba, and it's absolutely true. You can teach, train, and talk to your children and do the best that you know that you're doing for them. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in that moment, you can never, ever know what they're going to do. You don't know what their response is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how they're going to be affected by it. I know immediately when an officer stops me or pulls over, I get agitated because I'm like, okay,
Right.
now my stuff is together. What do you
Mm-hmm.
want? Okay. And so
Mm-hmm.
for her, she knew exactly what she should have been doing. But at the same time, Sandy was a radical. And Sandy was just the person that knew her rights. In her car, she had her little card from our attorney that talks about what you're supposed to do in a stop, how you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to conduct yourself. And that's exactly what she did. She did it to the letter. She did.
Yeah. And I definitely don't feel like she did anything wrong. I definitely feel like even in those interactions,
Yes.
you can stand your ground.
Yes.
If you know that you're being wrongfully accused of something, then
Yes.
you are supposed to challenge it. And unfortunately, as Black people, we try to train our children to assuage police officers in these types of situations rather than challenge them.
Yes.
And I think that, the fact that she did challenge them,
Yes.
just kind of basically demonstrated what needs to be changed. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll say this to you as well. I don't think that Sandy that you saw in that
Mm-hmm.
car, that
Mm-hmm.
was Sandy 24/7.
Yeah.
Sandy had that kind of aggressive boldness about her that was
Mm-hmm.
not afraid of anything. You're talking
Mm-hmm.
about the lady who came from our family reunion in Memphis, Tennessee. We had just got back Monday, and she packed her car and drove down there on her own. You understand what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
No
Mm-hmm.
fear coming across the road. You know how big Texas is.
Yeah.
No fear, none. Okay, made her stops, pulled over, slept where she needed to, and did what she needed to do. So she was not one of these whimpering females. And I'm not being funny. I'm just
Yeah.
saying she's going to ask, "What's the issue here, sir? What is
Right.
the problem?" And there was no harm in her asking that. And I had been asked before, do I regret that she stood her ground? And I said, no, I don't regret that she stood her ground. I regret that the officer overreacted. I regret that she had to go and stay inside of a cell when she didn't. It was unlawful as far as I'm concerned. But did I regret that she stood her ground? Absolutely not. I am as proud of her today as I was when she was here, because she literally showed the world, no, you don't have to bow down. You don't. She wasn't being disrespectful. She wasn't being rude. She was asking a question that never got
Mm-hmm.
answered.
And we've seen the disparity because white people get pulled over by officers all the time, and they use profanity with them. They are
Yes,
completely disrespectful.
yes,
We've seen, people drive off,
yes,
I mean, just all types of things,
yes,
and we've seen that happen without incident.
yes, without
So
incident.
for us to just feel like, okay, well, there's a black protocol for when we have these interactions with law enforcement. It doesn't sit well with me, and it obviously didn't sit well with Sandra.
Right. And unfortunately, the accountability piece is the issue here. It
Mm-hmm.
seemed as if when it happened to her, it just continued, just on and on and on and on and on. But prior to Sandy, there were several others as well that you just never heard about.
Right.
And I tell people all the time, immediately, we were like in shock. And so the sisters just started getting on the phone. They started social media. We said, no, you will not sweep this under the rug. And there were 6 other women that died in prison the month of July, along with Sandy, that people never mention their names anymore,
Wow.
ever.
I did not know that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ages 18 to 50. Yeah.
Yeah, you speak those names quite frequently when you're out. I've seen
Yes.
you speak those
Yes.
names a few times, and
Yes.
I
Because
didn't know
they
that until I saw what you were saying. Like July of
yes.
2015,
Six,
6 other women. That's just
yes.
women.
In 1 month across the country. And then when I ask in every room that I'm in and I say, do you know these names? Nobody ever
Mm.
knows the names. And so when Sandy first died, I would always make sure that I was bringing those names up. Kendra Chapman, Raynette Turner, Joyce Cornell. These were all women who died at the hands of police inside of jails on bogus charges. Okay? All in that same month. And because Sandy's story catapulted, it kind of swept these young ladies under the rug. And so part of my mission when I first came out speaking about it, I would always make sure that I would bring up those fallen queens that people forgot about. And people don't understand. They say, well, where are their parents? Where are their people? No, 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 no. When you lose a baby, I promise you, your head is not together. You have no idea
Mm.
what you're going to do. You're still sitting there in a day saying, what just happened? I called her cell phone for 2 solid years before they gave that number away, just to hear her voice.
Mm.
So when you lose your baby like that, dramatically, heinously like that, you have you totally, your life has changed forever. That's it. And so some moms that I've met across the country weren't even able to get up again, lost their jobs, lost their homes, lost their possessions because their mind was just gone. I went through that. I did.
Mm.
Damn.
So what advice would you give to families? Because as you can see, this is somewhat of a trend, has been a
Yes,
trend when it comes to African Americans with
yes,
police brutalities
yes,
at the hands of cops. What
yes.
advice would you give to families that would one day have to travel this road?
I would say first and foremost, please go ahead and cry. Please. If you
Mm.
hold all of that in, you are going to burst. Go ahead and cry. You don't have to be this strong individual for the world who doesn't know you anyway. Go ahead and get your rightful self care taken care of. Get your grieving process done before you get out here. Because when you get out here, before the grieving is done, you have these relapses of depression. And yes, I said the D word. And nobody
Mm-hmm.
likes to talk about that because they act like it's a no-no in our community. I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, I did not particularly see a therapist per se, but my relationship and faith in God was strong enough where I felt I didn't need to do that. Did I go through periods and spurts of being depressed? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would tell any mother, make sure you get your self care. And if that self care is being with the pastor, being with your church family, being with the additional members of the family, because that's what you need, you do that first because you will really, really crumble if you don't have that support system around you. There's no amount of talking that you can do with your child. There is no amount of warning that you can do. It's just a 50-50. You don't know what's going to happen at the end of a stop. You just don't know. They can do everything right, and there's no guarantee that they will leave that location. And so for me, I would always tell people, have the conversation. Absolutely. Absolutely. But if you find yourself on this side of the table, just know you're going to get through it. Make sure you connect with other people that have experienced the same thing, because they will understand that pain. It is hard to get along and get a network of people around you, and nobody has ever lost a baby. When you are in like company with those moms who know that pain, who feel that hole, they know exactly what I'm talking about, then that's where some of your healing comes from as well. It wasn't always from inside the family. It came from outside the family and around the world as we begin to open up and talk with other people.
That was one of my questions was, did you have connections with people who had a similar experience?
Not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. At first, I had heard about Trayvon. Of course, everybody had heard about Mike Brown, but the story didn't hit me until my daughter died, you see. And so immediately you think about reaching out to the other moms. Sabrina Fulton was one of
Yes.
the first people that I literally, we all were on, I believe that was TD Jake's show. And that was when I first met all of them. Sabrina, Gwen, Mike's mom, all of them were on the same show. And when I tell you to embrace those women in my time of pain, because mine was real fresh, and to be able to embrace them and just listen to their wise counsel while I was going through, I was broken. I was all on TV everywhere, but I was broken. Broken. And if you operate in that capacity, you are ill. You're functioning with a mask, and you are literally doing a disservice to yourself. So I would always say, take care of you. You can always get out here and speak up for your baby. But if you're no good, you're not going to be able to do anything for the baby either.
And we got Quinn, we got a question from
Sure.
Osa Obaseki. Excuse me if I said your name wrong. I apologize. I apologize if I said that name wrong. But they wanted to know, did you all talk to her after she got after she was locked up? Well, they first sent their condolences first of all, and they said,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, did you ever talk to her after she was locked up? And when you get into that, I want you to talk about like from when she left Chicago.
Yeah.
It was in Memphis or Chicago?
Chicago.
All right, so from when she left Chicago until when she was incarcerated and then till the Monday. So go on with that story.
Absolutely. Oh, she said, good pronouncing, brother.
I bet.
We had gotten home from a family reunion in Memphis, Tennessee on Monday. Okay. On that ride home, she kept on talking about this ambassador job, right? So we get home. She gets a call on Wednesday to say she got an interview. Okay. She leaves without even knowing if she got the job. Okay. She goes driving down. She has the interview, gets the job, and then she's arrested all in a matter of 2 days. Okay. She hadn't even unpacked when she got down there. All right. So, from what we understand, from the time she got there, she was able to wash up somewhere, get her little self together, go to the interview, get contacted back that she got the job. The next Monday, that Monday that she was found, she was supposed to be starting at that time. And so when I tell you she got arrested on a Friday, Sandy didn't call us on Friday. There was so much in the news about how many calls she made and all of that. No. She never called us on Friday. She contacted her Texas crew to see if they could assist her at that time. I don't know what happened there. She wasn't able to do whatever she needed to do with her crew there. So we got a call. My oldest daughter
And
got
that
the call.
was that July 10th?
Yeah, yeah.
July 10th. And how much? And
We
how
got
much?
the call on Saturday. She
Okay,
had been in there already overnight.
got it. So she was arrested on the 10th,
Yes,
and then she was in jail overnight, and then she called you on the 11th.
yes.
Now,
And
how much was she trying to get that she had to get from her Texas crew or from the family?
her bail was supposed to be, she said 5,000, which would be 10% of that would have been 500.
Okay.
She talked with my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter contacted the family. We all were ready to do what we needed to do. She told her, I got you. We got it. Sandy said, okay, I'm gonna go right now and I'm gonna call you back. That's what she said. I talked with the bail bondsman. The bail bondsman did not allow me to put my property up for collateral. He said you couldn't do that, but they do it all the time. Okay. I'm out of state. All right. You tell me that I can't do that. Then you tell me not to have anything. I don't have anything to worry about because you know who's over there running the place and it's going to be okay. The man left, went to the facility. He never, ever called me back again. Do you hear me? Yeah. Sandy never called back. The call never came. The next day, no one answered the phone at the jail. No one. We had people in Texas trying to call the place. No one answered that phone. And even on Monday, nobody called this family. They went to a relative's house in Texas, showed up at the door with a chaplain and told them Sandy was deceased. Nobody called me. I got the word through a third, fourth, fifth cousin who called my daughter. Then my daughter called me.
So all this happened on a Wednesday. She drove down July 8th. The interview was on that 8th or the 10th?
That day, that next day, that Thursday.
Oh, so the birthday was on the 9th. That's my birthday. So yeah, her birthday was on. So her interview was on July 9th. So July 10th is when she called you and told you, hey, I got it. I'm about to go to the store.
I'm going to Walmart, is what she said.
Next thing you know, on the 11th, that's Saturday, she's in jail. She calls you, I'm in jail. You calling, trying to talk to people, trying to get in touch with somebody. Bail bondsman won't call you back. Everybody saying everything's okay, but you ain't heard from nobody and won't nobody answer the phone.
No.
And then Monday, that's when you get the call from the fourth or fifth cousin.
They called my daughter. And when
they called the daughter,
we were kind of like, what do you mean? What do you mean somebody that you're doing? She did. What do you mean? Okay. There was never a call from Waller County Jail, ever, to initiate. When I called, my introduction to Waller County Jail was this. I called down and said, hey, I'm calling about my daughter. I'm screaming at this time. The guy is like, ma'am, if you don't stop screaming, I'm going to have to discontinue the call. I said, I'm calling about my daughter. He says, yeah, she is deceased. She's on her way to the morgue. I said, what?
Wow.
What
happened? No compassion.
None at all. And I just remember dropping the phone. And like I say, I'm in ministry, but I wasn't praying right then. I just started crying. And I'm like, this cannot be it. We just got back Monday. She just left me a message yesterday. Wait a minute. Everything from the very beginning sounded very fishy. It didn't sound right. It just did not sound right. And so we were determined to let the world know, no, this story is not right. It's not right. And even today, while we are 5 years in, it's coming up on 6 years, February comes around. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what you say. I don't care what anybody on the outside says. We know she did not kill herself. People ask me that all the time, and I always tell them, as a mom who raised them in the church, that's just not something she would have done. I believe that with my whole soul, and I will go to my grave saying that.
I believe that I saw some information, some questionnaire or something that they asked them, the information that they fill out, and it asked, "Do you feel like you know, would harm yourself or something? Do you feel that way?" And she said, "No." I have never, ever even thought
Yeah.
that that was a probable cause of her death,
Yes.
was
Yes.
suicide. I
Yes.
I never even thought that.
Yes.
And I try to limit, you know, how much I digest when these things happen, because
Yes.
they do take an emotional toll on me. But
They
I
do.
did see an interview, and it just doesn't even sound like to me when she did reach out. I think she may have spoken to her sister.
My oldest daughter, yeah.
Right. And it just didn't even seem like, she said something about her arm was in pain or something like that.
You're
Her
right.
arm was hurting. And I think that that was the last conversation they had.
Absolutely.
And it just doesn't feel like it. And I know you as a mother, your intuition
Yeah.
is going to be able to tell you, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If you know something duplicitous happened.
Absolutely. And even
And I know
from
if I feel that, that you feel it
well,
or
absolutely.
know it.
And I will tell you this, I said it from the very beginning when people were saying you shouldn't be saying that. What do you mean? My daughter is now dead. You're telling me three different stories. First, you tell me she was found hanging. Then you tell me she was found semi-standing. Then you tell me she was found almost level to the ground. Which one is it? Which one is it? When I'm in Chicago and you're talking to me, you tell me that I will be able to see all evidence that she harmed herself. When I get to you, you tell me the tapes, there's no tapes. You tell me there's no tape back there in that cell. Get out of here. That's not what you told me at first.
Mm.
So everything that they told us on the phone totally changed when we got down there with our attorney. It was like when the attorney came, it was all bets are off.
Mm.
And there were no videos, if I'm not mistaken, from that weekend, correct? Like it was
Correct.
just her coming in, and then they showed when she moved to the back cell, and then the
Yes.
next thing you know, it was showing gurneys.
Correct. You never saw a body come out of that cell.
Right.
And
And
this is why we kept saying, no, something is off here. This is bull crap. When they showed all of that, we felt like it was staged. I know I did. I can't speak for the other girls, but I felt like it was staged. We literally feel like, I've said this in public before, we literally feel like she was dead Sunday night, not that Monday. We don't think she made it to that Monday.
no,
Mm.
hey, and you know what? You have every right and reason to think that, because when I was watching it, like you said, when I talked to you before, you was telling me like when I watch it, just appreciate it for who Sandy was, not to try to
Yes,
get
Yeah.
any
yes,
information.
yes,
But
yes,
I found something really puzzling. Like they showed all those videos, and like you said, there wasn't no video over the weekend that they showed. So I
yes.
wonder, just on a basic level, did she even eat?
Here's what I will tell you, King, and I will say this to you because I know that there were some orange peels somewhere around there. Uh, the initial thing they said was that she didn't eat, but there were some orange peels somewhere around there, and we don't have real clarity on whether she ate or not because we were never able to access her stomach contents. Her stomach contents were never turned over to our autopsy person.
Did they give a reason why?
They did not. No, sir.
Got you. And I also, uh, with your suit that you brought against, was that the county or the
Water
state?
County. Yes,
Against the
in the
county.
state. Uh-huh.
I saw one of your motions to dismiss, and one of the highlighted portions of the motion was Sandy, and I'm paraphrasing, Sandy's
Yes.
suicide was caused because she couldn't get in touch with y'all and y'all couldn't get her out. So they basically blamed the communication or the lack of communication of the family and Sandy on her death. Uh,
Yes, they did.
could you speak on that and just how you feel about that? Just what do you
Well,
think
I'll
about?
tell you, just like I told the people back then, how ridiculous is that? How dare you try to take your murder of my daughter and turn it around on this family and act like she had made all these numerous phone calls and act like you guys had responded back prior to that. How dare you? I was insulted, and I could tell you right now, even today, right now, talking with you, there was never ever a inability. There was never a time where we just didn't respond. That's not correct. That's not correct. Not correct.
So for the people, tell them how many times, not even how many times, because that I know that's exponential. How many days straight did you call?
No, it wasn't a day straight thing. Sandy didn't call us until Saturday afternoon.
Gotcha.
So Saturday afternoon, now mind you, she already spent the night Friday. Saturday afternoon was when she called us. We got the group call from Shantae, the contact. I got back on the phone. I got on the phone, spoke with Mr. Booker, who I think he's got a portion in the movie. I can't remember right now.
Who's Mr. Booker? Is that the bail
bondsman?
Okay.
Yeah. And he said at that time, this is what you need to do. I need you to, here's what her bond is. She needs 10% of that. I need you to have that. You can, he said something about wiring. He said something about the instructions to do it. I've not ever dealt with that. Okay. I'm in Chicago. She's in Texas. I said, okay, well, listen, can I just put up my house for collateral? Can I put it? He says, no, we don't do that because you're out of state. Well, that's usually what you do when you're out of state, if you're not there and can't get there. So he said to me, I can't do that, but I'm going to go over here to the jail and check on her. You don't have to worry about it because I know who's on staff and she's going to be safe. She'll be fine. I said, okay. He said, I'll get back with you. The man never called. Never, ever. He didn't ever call back. And then when it came down to us finding out that Sandy was no longer here, and I made the call to him, I said, what happened? I literally just found out Sandy's over there. She's deceased. He said, what? I'm going over right now and I'll call you back. The man never, ever, ever called. He ghosted me. He never, ever said in public that he never called this family back. He never, ever, ever said in public that he didn't do what he was supposed to do while we were waiting on him. Ever. He didn't say it.
Yeah, I saw he did have a very brief part in the documentary, and that was never told. He didn't say anything about it. He told about the amount and what you had to do, but he never said, like you said, he never said that he didn't talk to y'all again. So
correct. And he just never called. And at the end of the day, I'm saying to you, I know that there are properties put up for collateral all the time. Because if your person doesn't show up, if they don't come back to court, then that's a lien on your property. That was a whole nother area that caused me to be really, really, really agitated for quite some time. And it's a piece that the people didn't hear and didn't know about. Number one, she was unlawfully arrested. That's number one. Number two, for that amount of money, and we're telling you, okay, we'll get it together. Okay. In between the time, Saturday evening, nobody called Sunday. Sandy didn't call like she said she would. We feel like she was gone at that time. Nobody answered that jail phone. When they said she made all of these calls and we asked for the log, we were never presented with a log. Then when we got there, they told us there was no log.
Wow.
The log?
The phone log.
The phone log. Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there was no phone log because we were trying to say, okay, how many times are you saying she called? Because we only, she made communication once with my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter has said that. She said it in the movie. It's the truth. They turned it around and acted like she talked to all of these people.
And so they're saying they don't have a record of her calling since they've been out and said that she had been calling, and the reason for her suicide was because she couldn't make contact with you, but they don't have any records.
Yes, ma'am.
In a jail
Yes, ma'am.
of who someone is calling.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Just like they said we would be able to see on tape, and then all of a sudden there's no tape back there.
Is
Oh,
this investigation is just completely closed?
It's completely closed, and this is when you settle with a entity, you are settling out to state that you no longer can pursue anything additional. Okay, for
Okay.
us, because we knew, or for me as the person that is saying she was murdered, you have to be able to prove that. And if your attorney does not feel that your side can prove that, it's a null and void deal. You're going to go and
They
you're
encourage you
going
to settle.
it's not even that they encourage you to settle. They give you your options, and then you decide what you should do. So for me, as the mom, number one, if you're telling me that we've got the burden of proof to prove, and you have to have a physical body, a physical person that you can put it on, there's no way that we would have been able to take it to court and win. No way, based on the so-called rules, the legal system. And that's a piece that I literally talk about and speak about all the time, about the loopholes, the wording.
Yeah.
If you don't have a physical piece of evidence to point to an individual, there will be no charges. Okay.
And it
And
seems like they did everything they could, so you couldn't have any evidence, no phone log, no videos, nothing to attach anyone to the crime. So
correct.
that was nothing to work with. So let me
Correct.
ask you this: did the attorney subpoena the phone log? Did he actually try to subpoena the phone log, and it just wasn't? It was non-existent when he tried to.
It was non-existent, sir.
Whoa.
There were so many things that we requested that we would get things back redacted, scratched out, marked up, or we would be asked to come back into court and they would ask not to have to produce the items. It was really difficult, very difficult.
And like a kangaroo court to me.
It was terrible. And it was like coming in from Chicago, we were the foreigners, right? You know how they say everything is big in Texas, everything's big, you do it big. Well, we felt like we were the foreigners coming in, but we knew what we were up against, but we didn't know it was that bad. It was like every time we tried to do something, there was a motion coming forth to suppress it or a motion to stop it. Every time. And so even when we were waiting on this report, we waited on that report for several months. I'm talking several months. Even after it was designated to be given to us, we waited several months. And that's a piece that people continue to ask us about. Did they turn over this report right away? No. And the officer doesn't even have to do the report the same day of the incident. I believe they gave them 30 days to produce a report. And when we finally saw the report, there were different versions of it. Okay? So all of this stuff surrounding her murder, I always call it a murder. I don't say just her death. I say the murder of Sandra. Because there was too much that was unanswered. There was too much that we couldn't see. We subpoenaed all these people and they made us cut our list down. So my attorney didn't even get a chance to question everybody in that facility. Okay? Everything we tried to do, there was a monkey wrench thrown every time. There's a monkey wrench. There it is. And it was supposed to stop us from proceeding forward. But we kept coming and we kept coming and we kept coming. And when I tell you to be in a courtroom with people who are smiling, joking, laughing, it's more than the notion to sit across the table from folks and remain calm.
Wow.
So the report that you speak of, is that the arrest report?
Yes, that's the so-called original report of all things that happened from the time of the arrest to the time she was in there till the moment of her death. But what we found was there were different discrepancies in there. On one page, you saw that they talked about the kneeling. She was half kneeling. On another page, they talked about how she was in linear, in the air. And so we were going, which one is it? Who, which, how did you find her? Sandy was 6'2". The bar that you're talking about, she hung from, the bar was like 5'9". What did she do? Jump up and jump down? We were baffled because it just didn't make sense. And so for some of the family members, we chose not to harp per se on how they kept telling us she was found. We knew that she didn't kill herself. We knew that. And we told people that off the bat. But at the same time, we had no so-called physical proof to prove it. And so when you're going to take on that action in court, you better be proving it. You better offer up the evidence to prove it.
So were the discrepancies like what? Okay, so were the call logs and the discrepancy in the report ever brought into question in court?
No, sir. The only thing that happened in court was the judge took each person's info. When we first got the report, it was redacted. A lot of things were blacked out. So we got literally 3 forms of a report, and each one had different pages to it. So you had a 80-page report, you had a 100 and something page report, and then you had another report. And these were supposed to be things back then that we weren't supposed to talk about. Okay? The mysterious 100 and something page report never resurfaced. We know that it existed, but we never saw it. I didn't see it. So that was a huge discrepancy from what was presented to us. What was presented to us was something like an 89 page or something. WGLRO, Donnie Walker's radio show, really did an expose on it. Donnie Walker and David Fisher, and they exposed how the different reports came back. I actually had a copy of what they found, and that's the discrepancies that we found in there when they were talking about how she was found, when she was found, who found her. It was just differences in there. And from reading it, even I can tell you today, somebody somewhere in that jail knows exactly what happened to my baby. Now, unfortunately, Glenn Smith passed away, but I would sure love to like to see the case reopened. I really would.
Glenn Smith, the sheriff.
Yeah, he died this summer.
Just died this summer, August 2020.
Yeah, he had a massive heart attack.
Is there any possibility of that happening, and what measures would have to be taken for it to happen?
Well, what would have to be proven is that the entities lied. It would have to be proven that they lied to the estate and that they lied to the family. And then you would have to have someone who, now we're into the 5th year. I'm not sure what the statute is.
Of limitations.
We bring the case back up. But back before it reached this point, I had a couple of people really pushing me forward to try to go ahead and re-pursue it. Go ahead. My head was not there at that time. And when you think about constantly seeing your baby dead in your head, you're constantly seeing that, and you're constantly looking at the fact that there's no longer any more conversation, there's no longer anything. When you have everybody pulling at you left and right, and you have been exhausted by this so-called system, you ask yourself, okay,
you want to relive that?
Well, what is it that you can bring about in a second suit that wasn't proven in the first suit? You already know that the scales were not balanced in the first one. And my thing was always, okay, you agreed to pay 1.9, and I tell people that's really not a lot of money. It was the total of the insurance policies available for that type of crime. Okay. And so I had people saying just all kinds of awful, ill things. It was horrible. I didn't fight long enough. I sold out. Sold out of what? We got the max of what was offered at the table at the time on the policy.
Why you grieving your daughter?
Uh, yeah. Okay. And so, as I tell people right now today, really $1 million is not a lot of money. It's really not. 1.9 isn't a lot of money when this person's getting their money, that person's getting their special fee, that person's getting their money. It's really not. And
Yeah.
so I chose to spread it out among families across the country. I do a lot of work with a lot of people. It's not broadcast because guess what? You don't have to broadcast when you're assisting the homeless. You don't have to broadcast when you're assisting the downtrodden. You don't have to do
Right.
all that. I literally had somebody ask me one time, so what are you going to do with the money? I said, you know what? I didn't win a lottery. This is like blood money. Okay. This is, I didn't
That's
win a lottery.
terrible.
Okay. And so when you're dealing with that, and you're also dealing with people attacking your character, you're dealing with people attacking your daughter's character, and she's dead, it's kind of like you have to do everything that you can not to lose it. Because when you have come before the public and you have said, listen, this is the real deal. We're going to pursue her legacy this way. We didn't want the violence. We didn't want to have the shootings. We didn't want to have all of that attached to her. And so we went about it a different way and just said, we will make sure that we keep speaking and we keep going out and we keep on talking about it. We keep on talking about it. The foundation is this close to being done. And the things that I'm trying to do there have to do with bail bonding. They have to do with making sure that there are outsiders who come in to investigate these cases. No, you don't get a chance to come in and investigate your buddy that you had dinner with last night.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main things that was an issue for us. Everybody was connected. People
Exactly. That's what I was thinking about. This is an entire network of people,
yes,
you know, who
yes,
are they're all going to work together to ensure that, you know, the truth doesn't surface.
absolutely. And I always tell the family, and I just said it, we just said it a couple of days ago, because my young brother is very close to my girls and he's the favorite uncle. And we just said, you know what? We hope that one day that we can literally live to see the person who comes forth, who knows the whole story, kind of like that Emmett Till issue when the woman was about to croak and she came talking about she lied. By this time, he's dead, the mom's dead, anybody attached to the family was deceased, and now you want to clear your conscience. And so that is one of my prayers that I have, is to let me see real justice for my daughter, because somebody's walking around here not sleeping, and I know that. You can't with all of that pile of lies. You can't. There were so many things that were done to her. She's the only body that I know that had to see 3 funeral homes. How do you call the funeral home who doesn't even deal with Black bodies, and you have them come and get my daughter? You clip her nails to the skin so that the tips are bleeding when we go to retrieve her body. Okay? You never test the clippings. You then take her to a second American funeral home. They deal with her there, and then we had to take her to a third funeral home when we got her home in Chicago. What was the purpose of the first funeral home that was never called but just came to the jail?
You said it was a funeral home that doesn't deal with Black bodies? Like that's their thing?
Yeah, you got white funeral homes.
You know that
black.
Okay. You know what?
It's the truth.
Like I didn't know funeral home actually tell you we don't deal.
No,
they're not gonna divulge that, but it's just
they're not gonna divulge it. You just see it based on pattern. Okay.
Yes.
And this was not the funeral home that typically comes to get the people.
Yeah.
Typically, the second funeral home is the one that's always called out first.
Okay.
This particular funeral home that came out, there was no record from them. The papers they were supposed to provide were very skinny and scarce. It was a shame They were supposed to be made to provide the trail for the body.
Yeah.
They didn't provide that. No, no.
So to
Yeah.
pick up where you left off, as far as you said, you working, I guess, to see as it concerns like bail bondsmen and that there are people from outside, that there are outside entities that are working on the case.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything that could be done legislatively that could help prevent things like this from happening? Or, and also, is there anything current that has been put into place in Sandra's memory legislatively
Well, of
concerning
course,
this?
the Sandra Bland Act that they put out there and then stripped all of the police brutality language out of it and stripped everything that had to do with her out of it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm.
Here's the thing about the legislative piece. Legislation is a marathon, it's not a sprint. If you don't have the right people backing that bill, and you don't have enough support to back that bill, the people tell you one thing in your face, and then when the legislative doors close, things start moving around and pieces of the bill begin to get chopped out. Okay?
Oh,
That's what happens on that legislative floor. Okay? And I will tell anyone, when you're talking about the legislative piece of it, it takes everybody from all across the globe, not just 5 or 6 people. Everybody has to have the common goal, because what we were faced with, angry officers, the association, the policemen's union, they came forth with their
oh,
concerns. And so they overrode what our desires were. And so it was my hope that in the near future, that the true things that affect us can be placed into these bills, so that there is not just this nonchalant attitude about the way we are handled. It's more than a notion to have stuff on paper in your laws, in your rules, but you don't go by that. And you
That's what
know
I,
that,
yeah.
yeah, you don't have to go by it because there's no accountability. See,
And
Exactly.
I saw the Sandra Bland Act. Amongst one thing they had, it was for the jail employees.
yes,
Always, it was a mandate put in that they have to always periodically check on an
yes,
inmate in their care.
yes,
I saw they
yes,
kept that in, but I saw they took the de-escalation measures out. Like there was
correct,
something in the the Sandra
yes,
Bland Act that said it gave measures of de-escalation in police encounters.
yes,
And that's the reason Sandy even ended up in jail, was because of de-escalation. Well, the lack of
Lack
de-escalation.
of
yes,
de-escalation.
yes,
You took out the namesake. For me, it was like she wouldn't even been there if it
yes,
wasn't for an overzealous and aggressive. And damn right, I think he felt like his manhood was challenged. I really do.
absolutely,
I feel like he felt like,
Egomaniac.
yeah,
absolutely. But I'll tell you what,
power,
as the
and he probably felt like, yeah, he felt like less of a man. I feel like that's how I feel.
well, if you watch the entire encounter, I'm sure he did. And at the same time, I will say this to you, and as a Christian woman, and just as a Christian woman, it took a long time to get here, but everything that has happened, everything, God allowed it. You hear what I'm saying? And so there's absolutely, and people don't agree with me. Some people say that's just too holy rolling. But for me, I'm the mom. Not only was she not the only one, but it's continuing to happen. As it's continuing to happen, it's changing the face of the world. Now they're talking about it. With Sandy, they started talking about it. After Sandy, people really started pulling out their cell phones now. After Sandy, people started doing things that were proactive to say, no, we're not going for it. Okay. And so I say, it was allowed for the purposes of what God needed to do to show the people what needed to be uncovered. A lot of envy, a lot of hatred, a lot of jealousy was uncovered with her case. A lot of racism was
Yes.
uncovered with her case. Even though we know it existed, her case was a classic case of outright dead wrong, just racism, period. You sit and you allow this man to assault my daughter on the side of the road, but you give him a charge of perjury. You don't even give him an assault charge. You don't even give him a battery charge. He slapped my daughter. Go and watch it.
Yeah.
He slapped her in that car.
Yeah, I saw that, and the lawyer actually broke it down. You can hear the smack, like you can hear the smack, and you see her jump back, like you see her jump back, and it's like, you know, all that because she wouldn't put her cigarette out in her car.
No, all of that was about racial injustice. That's what that was about. And this is why I'm saying, for me, with the unveiling of the foundation in a couple of months, 2 to 3 months now, I am dead bent on assisting families that may not have, I don't know, you've got some people sitting in prison for $375. There's a young man in Illinois sitting in prison for $375. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so the conglomeration of bail bondsmen, attorneys, everybody that you would need if you found yourself in that situation, those are the networks that I'm trying to put together. So say something like this happens to another person and they get in that situation, bam, all they would need to do is make one phone call, and then that from that one phone call, that would connect all the rest of the resources. So that's what we're working on, and it's huge. It's big. There are a lot of people involved in it, and it's necessary. And it's probably going to be something unlike you've ever seen before.
Hey, and one thing I want to say, I heard you on the documentary say, Sandra, everybody's going to remember her name. I'm paraphrasing, but you basically said the world will know Sandra Bland.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you feel 5 years later about that statement?
I'll tell you this, from all of the activity that has gone on, from all of the kids that you meet who have changed their majors in school, from all of the interest that has now come in our plight, because women were dying before, but it really wasn't being talked about. Okay. And it just seems like her death sparked the conversation. It sparked the opportunity to be able to say, this is dead wrong, and they've been treating queens like this for too long. Hers was just so blatant, and it was so odd that it caused you to continue to think about it. This is just still not right. So as a mom, I am absolutely elated that her legacy is what it is. I am absolutely ecstatic that she got the opportunity to live the life that she did, and she left here standing her ground. I will never, ever, ever say that I'm embarrassed. I will never, ever, ever say that I'm just upset that she made that choice. Absolutely not. She never bowed down. She didn't. She didn't. And for that, the sacrifice was made, but there is an entire world now who had an awakening and said, we're not doing this anymore. And there began to be just risings, uprisings all over the place. And so to know that her legacy has just a little bit to do with that, it's a bittersweet feeling. It's bittersweet.
Have you I saw earlier, I know when you was hitting the road with other mothers of the movement that that lost their children. Do you still keep in contact with them now?
Absolutely. Yes.
And unfortunately, have y'all added, you know, other mothers to the group since then? Unfortunately.
Here's the thing. And I always tell people, when you saw us on the road with Hillary, we were with her for 9 months, right? But you got to know there's many, many, many more mothers of the movement. Many. Okay. When we stepped out with her, we were just the ones who were chosen for that time in that season. You know, there were so many other mothers across this country that are also mothers of the movement who have lost their kids as well. But in their own individual journeys, they're doing the work still. You just don't hear about them. They're the silent ones. Absolutely. Maria Hamilton, Dantre's mama, she and I, all the time, we're talking. We all still keep up. We go to each other's events. Every now and then, when one or two is not doing too well, yes, there are those calls that are made to say, hey, what's going on? You good? Still, even to this day. So yeah, we do still keep in contact. We do.
Right on. Cool. Doc, you got something?
No. This was has been very enlightening because this is something that when it happened, I was tuned in, especially when something like this has happened. So it's been an honor listening to your story.
Oh,
I had another question I wanted to ask about. I know, and this is early. I tried to ask earlier, but I know we was talking about our discrepancies in the reports.
yeah.
One report I saw, not report I saw, but from watching the documentary, they were saying that Sandy's fingerprints nor her DNA was found on the trash bag noose.
That is correct. That is correct.
Was
That
that
is absolutely correct.
was that ever entered into court, or was that found out after? I just want to know, when did that information come and how was that used?
That information came later. That information was given later. We were asking for the bag. Go back and look at the tapes. Go back and look at the video. We were asking for that bag so long. So when it finally came, we were already settled out. We were right at the point where we had already had talks about it because there was no evidence being presented anywhere. And when that bag came, when it was so-called told to us that there were no fingerprints, no DNA, no nothing, that's one of the things that is you can't. What do you do with that? Who are you going to charge? The air, the wind, the rain? Who? That's the sad part about the criminal justice system. If you don't have these items that they say you need to have to make a charge stick, an indictment means nothing. If you can't prove it, nothing's going to happen. Nothing. And so you move forward with no fingerprints, no DNA. You know that's crazy. That doesn't even make sense. It doesn't. But the will to try to keep this closed, the will to try to keep it all covered up, outweighed anything else that we could have done at that time. There were times going back and forth down there when we would be ready to go down to meet with these people, and we would get a call the night before, oh, it's been canceled or rescheduled.
Oh boy.
So we'd have to stop the tickets. We'd have to do all of that. And it happened more than once. And so it was kind of this cat and mouse game type thing where they kept rescheduling, trying to make you just say, you know what, screw it, forget it.
Discourage you. Yes.
They tried to discourage, and at the same time, I would absolutely say to any family, you keep pushing and you keep going and you keep on going. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they do. You keep on talking for your relative. You keep speaking up for your baby. You keep on talking for those that can't talk anymore. And that's what we do. Sharon still speaks. Shantae speaks. I speak. We all speak.
Yeah.
We all speak because it's up to us now. She can't speak for herself. So it's up to us. I don't care if it's 10 years down the road. You will still know Sandra Bland. Still. And hopefully a whole host of other families will be able to receive the assistance that she wasn't able to get when she was here. You know, we're trying to make it so that everybody understands why you need to have an attorney on call, why you need to have a relationship with a bail bondsman, why you need to know your rights. That's kind of the teaching training piece of it that we're going to attempt to do as well. There are a lot of things that we're trying to do, and it's a big ask. It's a huge responsibility, but the debts are even larger. And when you think about the blood that has been shed, it makes you just want to say, you know what? I have to do this. Because for 2.5 years, I was in Texas by myself, depressed to the max. Okay. And when I say to you, meeting brick walls, left and right, until a small group of people got together with me and got my head straight and said, listen, sister, this is what's going down. This is what happened. And once you're done with a case and you try to go back in and tell other people, no, this is not what happened, you then are faced with folks not believing you because of all of what's already been put out in the public. There were so many things out there that just were not correct. And we tried to make sure that we addressed them as they came. We really did. We did.
I just had a wait, I'm trying to get back. I can't get back on here.
On where?
Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Oh, okay. I was looking at something else. I just wanted to say, of course, I admire your resilience and your indomitable spirit for sure. And I appreciate you coming in and talking with us today. But I wanted to know, how do you advise that we heal as a community? Because when we witness this type of trauma, like I said, for me, it takes an emotional toll on me. So how do you, just advise that we, create healing spaces for the community?
You guys have a forum. You guys have a fantastic forum, and you're able to allow people in. You're able to allow people to communicate and interact. Talking about it really helps to get it out of your system and into the atmosphere. The next piece of that is taking those little groups and finding out who's got what skill, who's able to move forward and maybe take the legislative piece of it, who's able to move forward and maybe go see about that family that's now the news media is gone. They still need some healing over there too. So it needs to take little groups of people all connecting up to uplift each other. As you're going through that trauma, so many other people are going through that as well. And being able to have a platform like this and any others that are open so that people can express. Safe spaces like this need to happen so that people can understand it's okay to get angry and you can share it, but think about your response first. I always tell people when life happens to you, you got two choices. You can either react foolishly or respond appropriately. And so I always tell people, respond appropriately when you are faced with something of this magnitude, because if you don't think before you respond, I promise you there will be much, much more bloodshed, much, much more domino effect. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hey, we got a question from a person that just joined too.
Yes.
What's his name? Jermaine McDaniel. He wants to know what happened. I forgot if we talked about it. What happened to the information of the video clip that was withheld but wasn't turned over until like May of 2019?
Yes.
You know what? Yeah. Could you expound on that?
When you say what happened to it, I don't. The reporter that revealed that, he provided it to the news stations. Nothing new came of it. There was nothing that Cannon could have gone back and done with it because the case was already closed. And the way that they looked at it, they said that it was not any new information. They stated that they had provided it previously. We did not have that information.
What was the information?
The video only showed everything that was actually done and shown on everything on the 52-second video, but it was from Sandy's vantage point. It was Sandy looking at the officer showing that he wasn't intimidated, showing that she was not a threat to him. So it was from her lens. It was from her view.
Got it. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So like you said, they said wasn't nothing new about that. It was just
Right. It was just from her view. There was nothing that you could take back into court and state that had radically changed the outcome of the situation. And I always said, I disagree with that. Because you had an officer who literally lied and said he feared for his life. How and where?
Mm.
Damn.
Her clip clearly showed you she wasn't intimidating you.
Right.
Not at all. You feared for your life where? You never showed it. What you showed was someone who had ego. That's what you showed. You showed a bruised ego. And to this day, I often wonder, what if he had just let her just go? Just let her go. This whole, we wouldn't even be having these conversations. We wouldn't be having this awakening in the world. And so what happened had to happen per se in history in order for us to get to the point where we recognize this is a serious problem here. And we can't just keep laying down and saying it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you just want to know what would you like for us and the rest of the world just to know and remember about Sammy and just about what happened to her? Like what's your, I know you said like you want the world to know her name, but like actually what do you want, you know, ultimately to come from this?
Ultimately to come from this, I would hope that her experience and her tragedy would cause the world to say, listen, we collectively need to change our criminal justice system. We collectively need to treat each other better. We collectively need to stop judging each other by the book, by the cover, and not allowing someone to have that relationship with you because of color. I would hope that the world says, you know what, because of this wrong, I'm going to do everything that I can in my area, in my arena, so that we can make sure that the system changes so much so that this will never happen to another person. Her story is very unique. Even though it's a death, it was very unique with the mystery of it, very unique with the way that everything just kind of dissolved and nobody said anything.
Mm-hmm.
It bothered the world, yet it was still an attempt to put it in a bottle. Still.
I still feel that way, that there's I'm sorry to interject, but I just still feel that way, that there's just an unsettling mystique about this entire situation.
Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
I just literally hope somewhere, somehow, and I don't know how much and how long Emmett Till's mom must have prayed, but I always say somewhere, somehow, God, let me live to see. Let me live to see the real justice, because the real justice for me would be somebody in jail. I'm serious. I'm very serious. I have a hole here that just will never close. It's never going to close. And so I would love to see someone held accountable. I would love to see someone held responsible for her dying in that place alone. Because when she went in there, she was standing up on 2 feet. And she had to be wheeled out of there. And to this very day, there was no film, nowhere. We never saw her leaving that facility. That still bothers me. But there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
So for now, I would like her legacy to always be stand your ground and know your rights. Be purposeful in finding out what your rights are and stand by them. Period. I'm not talking about disrespecting anybody. This is not what that's about. It's about knowing your rights and being able to use your voice as opposed to allowing them to suppress it. And that is what I can think about when I think about my baby. She didn't allow her voice to be suppressed. Even
Yes.
in her final hours, she did not allow her voice to be suppressed. And it seems as if she's speaking even louder from the grave.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, ma'am, I don't know if
Yes,
y'all got
sir.
anything else. I just want to thank you for, allowing us to speak with you and
Absolutely.
feeling like this was a space that you could express yourself and
Yeah.
inform us on some
Yeah.
things because I know I wasn't the only one, as you can see, that had
Yeah.
about our sister Sandra's murder, as you say,
Yeah.
as,
Yes.
Yes.
as it showed,
Yes.
as there is no other way to even call it out. Like I know
Yes.
murder is a legal term,
Yes.
but
Yes.
your eyes, you got to believe what your eyes see. You
That's it. And at the end of the day, there were just too many little tiny little things that all together just didn't add up. And
yeah,
you're sitting there still saying 5 years later, really though? Really?
Yeah.
And I just believe that there's a tiny knit group of people who have got to be turning over in their beds every now and then because I know they can't sleep. And
Mm.
I'm just saying, God, reveal those people. But in the meantime, I want the world to remember that this baby here was for the underdog. And I don't know what she would have been. I don't know whose administration she would have been a part of, but she would have been somebody. And she's actually already somebody in death. And so when I say to you, I am just grateful that her voice, Sandy, still speaks. Still,
Mm-hmm.
still.
hey, we got another message too.
Yeah.
Want to say that they want to know that they love you and they're praying for you and your family. They're actually
Oh,
from the Chicago area and they attended Prayer View
thank
before,
you.
Mm.
and
Yeah.
they change their Facebook page every February 7th on her birthday and more on the day she died. So,
Thank you.
and,
Thank you.
and they
Thank
also
you.
out of the tragedies, this was the one that hit them the hardest. So he just wanted you to know
Mm.
praying
Wow.
for you. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
everybody on here is saying the same thing. We have another person that says Sandy was an amazing woman.
Oh,
And thank you, Mom, for standing for her. Yep.
absolutely. I'm not done yet.
Anything, if you ever want
We
to come,
appreciate you.
yeah, if
Yes,
you ever want to
ma'am.
come back on and speak and talk, you are more than welcome.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
we really
Yes, sir.
appreciate it. Because like this is what this is about. This is about
Mm.
informing and educating us, and letting us know the real deal. Because people have been telling our stories for centuries. Other people
Yes,
don't have any interest in who we are at
yes,
all. So
yes,
to have you, the mother of Sandra Bland,
yes, sir.
here with us tonight, I'm honored and I really appreciate it. And
No, sir.
before we go, I want
The
you to let
pleasure and
everybody
honor is mine.
know.
The
What you
pleasure and the honor is all mine.
Oh yeah, oh yes, man. I appreciate that. I gotta know before you get out of here. I want you to tell everybody, 'cause I know some people probably wondering.
Yes.
Let everybody know what's up with the mask.
Okay, so here's the story with the mess. Okay, I get this all the time. Every time I'm on with somebody, they say, "Come on, Mama G, what's up?" For us, many people have died across this country, right?
Right.
Everybody's saying these masks are the barrier, the protector, right?
Yes.
We're telling people that you need to have these masks on to protect you from people and people from you.
Mm-hmm.
Be showing that on these platforms that we have. I feel like the more we walk around without them, the more in people's mind they think they don't need them. When
Yeah.
they see that you're not wearing it, hey, that's just natural. They just keep on going. That's what they just saw. For me, I keep them in the car. I have them in the house. I have them all around because it's a part now of your attire.
Attire. Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere you can go. They have signs on every store. Must mask up. And so I do that at home, and especially when I'm on anybody's Zoom or Facebook Live or whatever, because that needs to be consciously put into your head. This is what they say we need. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm not taking the vaccine. I'm telling you right now. So,
Okay.
hey,
Hey,
I'm with you, Mama G.
okay? Because I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what that is. I don't, hey, okay?
right.
I'm not taking it. And so I feel like
Hey,
if
they might cut us off. You better stay off that vaccine.
what are they gonna do? They ain't gonna cut you off, baby. No, but seriously. No, but seriously though, it becomes a talking piece as well. And so it allows me to then be able to explain, and then people are like, you know what, you're right. You're right. I have literally seen people in the street, and I will say to them, "What's up, man? What's up with the what's wrong? Why you not wearing it?" And people have mask fatigue right now. Okay,
Oh,
they're
we do. Oh,
tired of
yeah, we do.
sick,
We do.
tired
I'm
of.
one of those people,
Okay,
but I
but
still wear it.
you better. At the
Yeah.
same time, you got to remember there are people who are watching you all.
Mhm.
People are watching you all to set the example. You all are some cold brothers and sisters. I applaud you for the work that you're doing. People look to you for the example. And so set the example. You're doing your thing. You're doing it. And so for me, because a lot of people do look to us, I say, let me just go ahead and put this little 10-cent mask on and just go ahead and I promise you, there have been people who later on said, you know what, you're right. It made me think a little harder. It made me go back and get it when I was going to purposely leave it. Now, I'm not lying.
Mm.
People have said that. And so I said, well, you know what? Let me go ahead and put it on. It's really no different than the mask that we were already wearing that you couldn't see. Hello.
Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm just saying.
There's something in.
Yeah.
There's something in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, look, Queen, we really appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, can't thank you enough for being on our show,
Indeed.
sharing your story,
Yes.
sharing Sandra's life with us, and exposing a lot of things and a lot of questions that we had. A lot of
Yeah.
people had, and just thank you for being here, for being patient, and just being open and honest about
Yes, sir.
who you are and what you do and who Sandy is
Yes,
because
sir.
I feel like
Absolutely.
her spirit never left, even though her body left 5 years ago. I really
Yes.
feel like Sandy is still around. Like you said,
Oh,
her name, she was catapulted, and that was because of you and your family's diligence to never let her name die. I really appreciate it. I think we all appreciate that, the
thank you.
strength that it took and the courage.
Absolutely.
As as a mother, like we're all parents on here, but you
Yeah.
know you're the one that has in this club, and we really appreciate you coming out and just showing that strength that you have. And thank you for speaking with us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I want to tell you that had nothing to do with me. I'm just a vessel. If I didn't have God's
Yes.
strength, man, I would be gone. You hear me?
Yes.
So I would tell
Yes.
anybody the strength came from him, and I would never, ever, ever try to take any of his glory. It came from him because I'm telling you, this kind of stuff right here, even if you're a Christian, you better know that you know him because you could lose it.
Mm.
Okay. So I want to thank you all for having me on. When the foundation is established, I'm gonna be like, Ping, I'm back.
Okay.
Yes.
And and you keep me up to date on in a couple
Absolutely.
of weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
We
sir.
gonna
I
get
certainly will.
yeah, we're gonna get together and do some things.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
yeah. For everybody that's joined us tonight, I want to thank y'all for being on
Yeah.
here.
Much
Uh,
Yeah.
appreciated.
Yeah.
if you know some people that didn't get to see it, or uh, they were interested and didn't get on, this is
Yes.
recorded. It'll be on YouTube, on the Black to Life YouTube channel. It'll
Awesome.
be going live on Facebook right now. So you
All
can get
right.
it on Jelani Hashim's page and the Black to Life page. It's been shared. Uh,
Awesome.
hey, it's on multiple platforms, so you'll be able to see this interview again.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you. Wonderful, wonderful folks. And we will definitely reconnect soon.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
already.
Okay. See you guys.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
night.
Good
Night,
night.
night,
All
everybody.
right.
All right.
Good night. Peace.
Oh yeah. Jelani Bracey signing off for Black to Life. This is the B2L Kickback. Got Saba the Goddess, Demetrius Dotson, and our special guest, Miss Geneva Reed-Veal, the mother of Sandra Bland. So we out of here. Appreciate y'all.